time did you start this morning?
2 a.m.
2 a.m.
Started the fire at 2 a.m. this morning, yeah. And it takes approximately, on a nice day like today with no wind and everything, it'll take approximately 30 to 35 minutes to get this up to temperature. I do use a propane torch to get it lit just because it's faster. A lot of people like to use charcoal because they don't like the gas part of it, but to get the wood going, propane is the way I do it. It's just a lot faster and it gets it up to temp a lot quicker, so you get your meat on. It takes, say example for a brisket I'll run anywhere from 8 to 12 hours, just depending on the size of the brisket. So these here were about medium size. They weren't the great big ones, so they don't take near as long. They took about 8 hours. I pulled them about 8 hours, I think. So again, it just depends on your cookers. With a reverse flow, it's a lot easier to keep the two chambers at a almost equal temperature. If you'll notice, this one's at 250 and this one's at 248. So I can keep both of those temperatures pretty regulated and everything. Again, that's a lot, knowing your fire and your firebox and wood. You actually get more heat and a better smoke if you have coals than you do if you have flames. If you notice coming out of there, you don't see a lot of smoke. That's what we call a clean burn, and that's what you want. That's the smoke you want in your meat. You don't want the heavy smoke coming out because it's bitter. So you want to make sure that when you're smoking, you drive by and people see all the smoke flying. Oh, they're smoking, look at that, oh yeah. That's not a good smoke. A good smoke is a very clean, you can barely see it. You'll see almost like the heat coming out, but not a lot of smoke. That means that smoke is penetrating in that meat and it's clean. It's not a bitter smoke. It's going to be a very clean and good. That's where you get your flavor from. So that, with brisket, like I said, depending on the size, anywhere from 8 to 12, 14 hours, just depending on the size and how long, and how well you regulate your temperature. I mean, if you can keep it steady at 250, you're looking at probably 8 to 12 hours if you can hold it in that temperature range. If it fluctuates a little bit more, you're having trouble with different chambers and keeping the temperatures, and you'll have to just adjust for time and everything else on those. That's where you just check with the thermometer and go from that area.
So if you get up at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning for anything, I guess you have to be pretty dedicated to your cause.
I love it. I do this. I wanted to start it up and just do it all night, but I like, well, I better get a little bit of sleep. But no, there's been lots of times I've just stayed up, and if I got to cook the next day or a big cook or several items I need to cook, I would go ahead and, like if I'm doing pulled pork and brisket and then ribs or something on top of that, I'll do the pulled pork and brisket first because they're a longer cook, and then I can throw the ribs on later after I get those off. So it just depends on what you're cooking and for how much, how many. So I have done up to, with this smoker, I can cook for about 350 to 400 people at one time. So just depending on what they're wanting.